Let us pray. Almighty God, we in your wisdom and goodness have appointed the office of leaders and parliaments for the welfare of society and the just government of the people. We beseech you to behold with your abundant favor us, your servants, whom you've been pleased to call to the performance of important trusts in this republic. Let your blessings descend upon us here assembled, and grant that we treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberation in so just and faithful a manner as to promote your honor and glory, and to enhance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country, and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen. Can you ring the bell to attain quorum? Well, you may stop the bell. We now have quorum. We can commence.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair.
Honourable members, as you are already aware, today, Wednesday, 6th of December 2017, is a sad day for the National Assembly and indeed the nation as a whole, as we have lost one of our most vibrant colleagues, the Honourable Francis Nyense, the Member of Parliament for Kitui West constituency, who passed away while undergoing treatment at the Nairobi Hospital. Honourable members, the late Honorable Francis Nyense was born on the 2nd of June 1957 in Kitui County. He attended Chome Boys Secondary School between 1974 and 1977. Thereafter, he proceeded with his A-level certificate at Kagumo High School between 1978 and 1980. Between 1980 and 1984, he attended the University of Nairobi, where he graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in design. Later, the Honorable Nyenze attended the Moi University for his Master of Business Administration, MBA, between 2003 and 2005. Honorable members, the late Honorable Nyenze made his debut in national politics in the run-up to the 1997 general elections, when he successfully filed for the Kitui West constituency seat, where he served between 1997 and 2002. He was re-elected in the 2013 general election and subsequently appointed as the leader of the minority party, the Coalition for Reforms in Democracy, CORD, where he served diligently until the end of the 11th Parliament. His swift mastery and grasp of parliamentary business ensured that his contributions were keenly followed by all, particularly his contributions on legislations related to the agriculture sector, were insightful and tremendously enriching to the matters under debate. In the 9th Parliament, that is in the 8th Parliament between 1997 and 2002, he served in various committees where his contribution and participation was commendable. He was an active member of the House Business Committee as well as the Public Investments Committee in the 11th Parliament. The late Honorable Nyenze served this country in various other capacities. Just to mention a few, he served as a Cabinet Minister for Sports and Heritage between 1997 and 2002, the Minister for Environment and National Resources between 2011 and 2012. He also served as the chairperson of the Water Resources Management Authority and the famous task force for investigating pyramid schemes and community aid for development, CAD. He started his career as a designer with the Ministry of Health in 1985 until 1989. Between 1986 and 1989, he served diligently as the National Treasurer for one of the largest circles in the country, the Avia Circle. The honorable members, on behalf of all members of the National Assembly and the entire Parliamentary Service Commission, and indeed on my own behalf, I wish to take this opportunity to condole with the family of the late brother, Honorable Francis Nyenze, the people of Kitui West constituency, and his friends for the loss of this great legislator at this trying moment. As the National Assembly, we assure the family of our support during this period of great sorrow. In tribute to our departed colleague, and indeed for the information of members, we lost the immediate former member of Parliament for Belgood constituency, the late Honorable Eric Ketel. I request that we all stand to observe a minute of silence. May his soul rest in eternal peace. Leader of Majority, tribute.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Speaker, on behalf of the great people of Garissa Township, on behalf of my family and myself, I want to join you and the rest of the country in sending our sincere condolences to our great friend and leader and colleague, the Honorable late Francis Nyenze, Member of Parliament for Kitui West. Mr. Speaker, I had the opportunity in the 11th Parliament to have served at the leadership position with the Honorable Nyenze. he was a leader of minority of the, in the 11th Parliament. And I'm sure, Mr. Speaker, you'll agree with me that Honorable Nyenze contributed to the great success. He was part and parcel of the leaders who contributed to the great success and the achievements of the 11th Parliament in terms of the over 181 bills that this House has processed, the many motions, the many guidance. Mr. Speaker, I am sure the people of Kitui West, which represented over many, many years during the KANU days, multi-party politics, and even under the new Constitution 2010. Mr. Speaker, Francis Nyenze was a soft-spoken man. But Francis Nyenze was a man who stood for what he thinks. And at times he will disagree with his coalition. At times he will disagree with even those of us who are in the leadership. And he will say, this is my position. And his position was always the position that favors the majority of the people of Kenya. I can describe him as a nationalist. Some of us, at times, we spearhead party interest. But Francis Nyenze was a man who never only advanced the interests of the people of Kitui West, but the interests of the people of Kenya. I am sure colleagues in this House and the Speaker and the staff of Parliament who are in the 11th Parliament know the contribution of Francis Nyenze as the leader of minority, as a member of the House Business Committee, and as a member of the Public Investment Committee, an oversight committee. And I am sure Honorable Kainan, Honorable Chris Wamalwa will agree with me that he was a voice of reason at the Public Investment Committee, the way he was a voice of reason in the House Business Committee, and I'm sure in the leadership of then the Code Coalition. He has been sick since the beginning of this session, and I'm sure even those of us who were here when he took oath, he was not well. We want to assure his family and the people of Kitui West that the 11th Parliament, the 12th Parliament under the leadership of our Speaker, we will stand with them during this time, hard times. We ask the Almighty God to give the family comfort, to give them comfort, to give them courage, and to keep the legacy of Francis Nyenze both in the family and in the constituency. And I am sure, Mr. Speaker, under your leadership, when we are called upon soon, we will all go to Kitui West and give our brother a befitting send-off. May his soul rest in peace. May the people of Kitui County, Kitui West, and his immediate family members, may they get the courage to withstand this difficult time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable John Bandi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I also stand here this afternoon, and I want to speak on behalf of the National Super Alliance Coalition, and also on behalf of the ODM party, which I chair, and also on behalf of the people of Suba South, who I represent in this parliament, and on my own behalf as someone who also at personal level knew the Honorable Francis Nyenze, that I want to express our deep condolences and shock to the untimely death of our brother who passed on barely this afternoon, or this morning. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Nyenze is my predecessor. I have just succeeded him as the leader of minority party or coalition of parties. We voted him as our minority leader in the 11th Parliament when we were called coalition. And he steered us through the 4.5 years or so as the leader of minority. I want to say without any fear of contradiction that there were admirable qualities that one would really learn from Honorable Nyenze. One of which is that he was a great listener. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Nyenze, even though he was our leader, but he could listen to you, and if convinced, he would change his mind, which is very rare with many of us in positions of leadership. I want to also say that he had wisdom, experience that many of us lacked. And when you sat with him to discuss issues and matters pertaining to parliamentary procedures and issues of concern, whether it was bills or any matter that was under or a subject of discussion, you would really learn a lot from him. And that is why we all know how he became a leader of minority, but he was able to get our confidence for the 4.5 years as those of us who were in the minority coalition that time. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that it's a great loss, not just to the people of Kitui West, although I know that they have lost much more than us, because this is a constituency which had confidence in this great leader. I say so because Nyenze won his re-election when he was very unwell, was very ill. And I would tell you that for electorate to vote for you even when you are showing signs that your health is failing is not very easy. We have participated in campaigns and we know the kind of propaganda, the kind of smear campaigns that is associated with the campaigns and the electorate a lot of times, to an extent that most of the electorate are usually not very sympathetic, say, which would change the mind of God to either take him to heaven or to hell. My denomination, SDA, believes your relationship with God when you are alive is what determines your destiny once you die. But what I would pray for as a staunch Seventh-day Adventist is for the family, friends, and relatives, those who are hurting at the moment, that they may get peace, that they may realize that we are all headed to that direction that our brother has. It is us to join him. He cannot join us. I want to end there, lest I turn myself into a preacher. I want to end there by saying that we all are united at this point in time when we are mourning the Honorable Francis Nyenze. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shelley.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to join my boss, Honorable Duale and Honorable Mbadi, in sending my heartfelt condolences to the family of Honorable Francis Nyenze and the entire extended family of the people of Kitui West. Mr. Speaker, during the 11th Parliament, when Honorable Nyenze was the minority leader, he played a major role in bringing sanity in this House, especially when we have motions that would easily divide us as a House. I remember, Mr. Speaker, we had quite a number of motions that could easily tear us as a House. But Honorable Nyenze usually remained sober and guided us. Every time he could refer to himself as a son of a bishop. And indeed, it was not just what he used to say, actually he could also put it in practice. Sometimes, Mr. Speaker, as I got to learn of the demise of Honorable Nyenze, I was wondering why could people have to die? because if I was given an opportunity, Mr. Speaker, to choose who was to go, I have a number of candidates here, Mr. Speaker. And I was wondering, indeed, really, if I was given the opportunity and I choose between Nyenze and some of our colleagues who are here, I'm sure Nyenze will still be alive. Mr. Speaker, I remember we had Nyenze used to be the leader of minority, and many times you will find him even consulting the majority leader then, Honorable Duale, on issues that were majorly meant to even be government issues. But you will find Honorable Nyenze foregoing his party position to come and consult with the majority leader so that they can agree on issues that can take this House forward. Mr. Speaker, as Christians, we just want to thank and that request that God keeps his soul in eternal peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kitui Central.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me also join my colleagues in conveying my deepest condolences to the family of the Late Honorable Nyenze. I do this on my own behalf of my family, and on behalf of the good people of Kitui Central, who happens to be neighbors to Honorable Nyenze's Kitui West constituency. Mr. Speaker, this morning was a very sad morning to all of us who come from the southeastern region. We learned of the passing on of Honorable Nyenze at around 9 in the morning. And Mr. Speaker, we had a chance to go to the Lee funeral home to see the body. Mr. Speaker, I must say, we've lost a great son of the eastern region. Mr. Nyenze, just as many have said, was a unique person. And I think the voice of reason is really one of the issues I would associate with him. Mr. Speaker, when we joined the 11th Parliament, I remember as a minority coalition, some of us expected Nyenze to be very aggressive in taking on the government. But at times, because of his background as a son of a pastor, the way he approached things is not the way most politicians would want things to be approached. And I remember at one point, people thought that he was a very weak leader. But when you look at what he used to do, Mr. Speaker, at the end of the 11th Parliament, we all did agree that Nyenze was a very strong leader. Very, very strong, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I happened to have chaired during the 11th Parliament. I chaired the Kitui County Parliamentary Forum. And Nyenze was one of the members. Despite him being very senior in terms of political career compared to me, him and Honorable Musela, Mr. Speaker, those two leaders demonstrated a very high level of humility when I used to chair that forum. And I must say, as a region, we really want to pray to God that he stands with the family. He has left a wife and 3 children. And as a house, I only plead with the members that you support us in terms of prayers to the family and to us as a region. And as members of parliament, because this was a sitting member of parliament, we appeal to all members of parliament to support us as we prepare to send off our colleague. So I'm sure as we move on, we'll be updating you in terms of what programs are there. And when that big day comes to send him off, we look forward to seeing all of you joining us in Kitui West so that we console the people of Kitui West as a result of what has happened. So with those remarks, Mr. Speaker, I want to pray that my colleague, my friend, rest in eternal peace. Thank you.
Member for Belgut.
Mr. Speaker, I also take this opportunity on my own behalf, the people of Belgut, to pass a message of condolences first to the family of Honorable Nyenze for his demise. I personally did not know Honorable Nyenze, but from speakers who have spoken here today, he must have been a great man, and I wish his family God's blessing at this time. Secondly, I want to take this opportunity also on my own behalf again, and on behalf of my family, to pass condolences to my immediate predecessor, Honorable Eric Keter, immediate former Member of Parliament of Belgut. Honorable Keter, I did contest with him from 2013, where he beat me, even though I was in a popular party then, which was URP. He did beat me in Kano, and I had won the nomination. Again, in 2017, it was a rematch between me and Honorable Keter, who I trounced. But that notwithstanding, I must say he was a great person. From the history, Honorable Keter started from an extremely, he was a teacher, rose all the way to be a mayor, and finally, the Member of Parliament of Belgut. He has initiated a lot of projects in my constituency. One is something that is fashioned, Starehe schools, where you have children from orphans and children from disadvantaged families who go to these schools without paying any fee. They're both in girls and boys. And today I must say we mourn a great person. It was only 2 weeks ago when I and the Honorable Shinali, Member of Parliament from Ikolomani, did share a podium with the late Honorable Keter in my constituency. Honorable Shinali had attended a burial of his brother-in-law.
He was a team player, and he was very disciplined. He respected hierarchy, Mr. Speaker. You could not see him being abusive. It is only about a year ago, Mr. Speaker, that you were in Kitui West to bury his mother. And today, Mr. Speaker, Honorable Nyenze has followed his mother. Mr. Speaker, we are all here in this world, but our time will come, we'll go. Just as William Shakespeare says, that this world is like a stage which has the actors. And when time comes, you exit the stage, Mr. Speaker. Nyenze has exited the stage, but his legacy remains behind. The legacy of respect, the legacy of humility, where these honorable members, Mr. Speaker, they need to borrow from. He was very humble. He could hardly hurt a fly, Mr. Speaker. They could exchange words with the leader of majority, but outside they'll shake hands. Whatever was on the floor will stop here. He was a wonderful man, Mr. Speaker. On the leadership of CORD, we served together. And where we had issues, particularly differences of the members of the coalition, he was a leader who consulted. He was a team player. He could not do anything on Fort Kenya without consulting me as a representative of the leader, Mr. Speaker. That was for you. That was Nyenze, Mr. Speaker. Nyenze as a person, as a family, he was a family man, Mr. Speaker. Many times we could be together. The wife calls. I've gone to visit him, even at his house in Karen. He's the age mate of my mother, but he used to tell me, my brother, that is the respect, the kind of a person you're talking about. Mr. Speaker, I remember even he mentioned, he was a presiding officer in your place during the Kano nominations. And he used to tell you what he did, Mr. Speaker. And I'm sure you forgave him, Mr. Speaker, because there were directions from above, and he said it. This is a man who meant well, Mr. Speaker. So this is a guy, and you know he was very close. They respect a lot from the former MP, former President Daniel Toroitich arap Moi, whom I respect so much. And Moi used to tell us when we were kids, siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. There's so much you can borrow from these great leaders, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we want to pray for the people of Kitui West. And we want to assure them, God willing, Honorable Makali Mulu will be there to give our brother a decent send-off. Mr. Speaker, when he was here, many times when he was absent, he could call me and tell me, Mheshimiwa Chris, I'll not make it today because I'm going to the hospital, and be there to take charge of our coalition and see how to counter Honorable Duale in case he misbehaves, Mr. Speaker. And that's how we were, Mr. Speaker. We were brothers and sisters. So there's so much you can borrow from this great leader. We are praying to God. May the Almighty God give the family strength and comfort at this difficult time. I thank you.
Member for Kajiado South.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would also want to take this opportunity on my own behalf of my family, and behalf of the people of Kajiado South, to pass my condolences to the families of the late Honorable Francis Nyenze, and also the late Honorable Keter, immediate member for Belgut. Mr. Speaker, as many have said it, Honorable Nyenze was, first of all, the first minority leader under the new constitution of 2010. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that we worked with Honorable Nyenze in the 11th Parliament, both at the leadership of this House. We were together in the Committee on Appointment. We were together on the House Business Committee, and also on the plenary, on the floor of this House. Honorable Nyenze exhibited exemplary qualities that a leader of that status, Mr. Speaker, would have. He was very humble, friendly to everybody, ever jovial. Actually, as many have said, even in our leadership caucuses, he was a unifying center who was never extreme on any of the political issues, be it in the House or even outside the House, Mr. Speaker. And many were mistaking it to say that he was a weak leader. But Mr. Speaker, he was not. He was very sober, soft but very firm, and at the same time spoke his mind, as many have said it. And even the latest was when the NASA coalition was coming up with a single presidential candidate. He spoke his mind, and it is in the public domain, Mr. Speaker. But he is a leader who liked listening. He liked listening more than actually talking. So when he had a position, Mr. Speaker, the late Honorable Nyenze was easily convinced if you bring a better idea than what he was really having in mind, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the late Honorable Nyenze was very fast with parliamentary rules, the custom and the procedures of this House, that he spoke not that many times, but the few times he spoke, Mr. Speaker, you will learn a lot. He was so wise, and as I said, he liked listening more than talking, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to wish the family God's grace, God's comfort during this very difficult time, and others, as my colleagues have said it, we will actually support the family and ensure that we give our colleague a very befitting send-off. He is the first sitting member we have lost as the 12th Parliament, Mr. Speaker. May his soul rest in eternal peace.
Honourable members, I know many of us want to say something about the Honourable Nyenze, because several of you, or several of us, like you may have heard from the Honorable Amalwa, I've known Nyenze for many, many, many years. And therefore I am aware that so many of us want to say something, but we may not all be able to do so. So those that will get an opportunity, please try to be brief. Some of us have known him since the days he appeared at the University of Nairobi as a first year, when many of us were exiting. So we have some great knowledge and information about the Honorable Nyenze, apart from our time in politics. Member for Mavoko.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Let me join my colleagues in conveying my condolences on behalf of myself, that of the great people of Mavoko, and Machakos at large. Mr. Speaker, true, Mr. Nyenze was a man of God. He was a Christian, straight from high school to university. He was a member of CU. I think that was guided by his father having been a pastor. And Mr. Speaker, Nyenze was a soft-spoken person who avoided confrontation and never used verbal exchange. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Nyenze is one special person. In the 11th Parliament, if you look at his surroundings, he was supposed to answer back to Honorable Ndwale, who is not very easy. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Nyenze also used to have a deputy in the name of Mediwo. Mr. Speaker, those people, Nyenze handled them with a lot of ease. That one made some of us who are here in the 11th Parliament learn a lot of humility and good manners from Mr. Nyenze. Mr. Speaker, I have no doubt people of Kitui West have lost a leader, and as a wiper fraternity, Mr. Speaker, we have lost a tall man, a leader, and an advisor. Mr. Speaker, today, as we sit here, this morning, when I went to see Mr. Nyenze at the morgue, I saw his family, Mr. Speaker, his children and his wife. Mr. Speaker, it's very sad. I ask this house that we pray for that family and the people of Kitui West, that God is going to provide another leader, and even us, as in Okambani leaders, we get another person who will fit in the shoes of Mr. Nyenze. Mr. Speaker, it is not ordinary that at times, I remember one time when Nyenze stood in a rally and told everybody in Kitui to vote for President Uhuru. Mr. Speaker, that was a very bad time of campaigns. But how we handled it and how Nyenze handled it, nobody can handle like Mr. Nyenze. Today, as I convey my condolences, I want to tell this house that most of my behaviors, you used to call me his worship, I used to call him his leader. Mr. Speaker, so at times I'm arrogant, sometimes I'm big-headed, but through Nyenze, Mr. Speaker, today I'm a better person. I'm going to lose a good person, and Mr. Speaker, I'll carry his legacy. I'm going to be a good person. In fact, I'm going to be a churchman, Mr. Speaker, and I pray God to raise his peace in eternal peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Cecily Mbarire.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also rise to add my voice to those that have spoken before me by giving my condolences to the family of the Honorable. Like the minority leader he was supposed to be, he actually gave chance to those in the opposition then a chance to participate in debate, a chance to air their views. He was very, very accommodating. But more importantly, although he was a minority leader, the Honorable Nyenze never opposed agenda on the floor of this House for the sake of it. And I hope that this is something the leadership that we have right now of Honorable Mbandi and Honorable Junet will learn, that you can actually be in the opposition but support progressive agenda of government, Mr. Speaker. And as a result of him supporting progressive agenda of government, many people started to even accuse him of being a mole, Mr. Speaker. And I think it's important we say that now. But what I admired about the Honorable Nyenze is that did not stop him from doing what he thought was right. But he also opposed vehemently what he didn't believe in. And I think that is what leadership is all about. And so I must say that I have lost a dear friend. I used to consult him a lot on matters national. Many times we talk about politics. But I want us to remember that this guy the Honorable Francis Nyenze did something that made him get the wrath of his colleagues in the party and in the coalition. The Honorable Nyenze was convinced that the route that his party leader was taking was the wrong route. He even went on media and said, please, I think we are taking it the wrong way. Can we sit and rethink the direction we are taking? And he advised his party leader, and that was very brave, by the way, because not many of us have the courage to tell our party leaders what they don't want to hear. And he told the Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka that I don't think the route you're taking is the right route. It will not help us. And today, it is clear that what he saw has come to pass, that the direction they took was wrong. And so I hope that going forward we'll have another Nyenze from within the Wiper Party. Honorable Manzo, take up that leadership where you can speak out even when you know that's not the best thing to say. And I must say, I'll truly, truly miss the Honorable Nyenze. I'll miss his maturity. I'll miss his clarity of thought. I'll miss his courage. And for those of us who worked with him, we can only pray that his soul rest in peace, but more importantly, that we can support him as colleagues, support his final send-off, and support his family, as has been proposed here by the Honorable Member for Kitui, and just tell the new members that we do have a system of assisting our members when they are bereaved. We do have something we call the check-off system. You may not know about it. You just sign off how much you want to be withdrawn or to be deducted from your pay slip at the end of the month. Please let's not allow that culture to die. Let us continue with that culture, because there's nothing as important as working together and being there for each other beyond politics. And I believe Honorable Nyenze deserves that support for himself and his family, because he always did that. He always signed the check-off system, even for members from the other parties, because he was a very, very friendly man. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Kisumu West.
Speaker, I add my voice. The members of this House who have spoken about Honorable Francis Nyenze, and I wish to eulogize him as a personal friend and on behalf of the people of Kisumu West. Mr. Speaker, I think in a nutshell, what members have been saying this afternoon about Honorable Nyenze is that his strength lay in his humility. Mr. Speaker, if there's anything that I've always advocated for us in this House, is that to make a perfect member of Parliament, one needs to be skilled in arbitration and conflict resolution. Some of us are trained in those areas, some are not, some have them naturally. Honorable Nyenze was a naturally made arbitrator and conflict resolution person. I got to know him extremely well when I served with him in the last Parliament in the Public Investment Committee. And indeed, many times, he would listen to divergent views. And I'm sure those of us who served with him in PIC in the last Parliament, I see Honorable Omalo is here, Professor Corey Lemaine is up there, I see Mama Bitin Kata is here. They will confirm that Honorable Nyenze, when matters were controversial, would not speak his mind quickly. He would first listen to everybody and then speak last. Most of the time when he spoke last, we would all agree with him. As happens in many committees, Mr. Speaker, members sometimes have to haggle on foreign trips. When it became heated in our committee, Honorable Nyenze would then say, Honorable Kenan, the chair, myself, and him, we have traveled with in the world. So we give chances to those of us who have not traveled very widely. And that would settle issues like those ones. Mr. Speaker, when I talk about his humility being his strength, not many members in the last Parliament knew that Honorable Jacob Midiwo was doing a lot of work, not because Nyenze was a weak leader, but because most times he was feeling unwell. But despite feeling unwell, he was always there to serve the House. I remember once, very informally, out in the lounge, Honorable Nyenze, myself, Dr. Nyikalu was there, and I believe Honorable Ben Vashiali. We were talking about when, after elections in this term of parliament, chaos were erupting in the country. And he said that as members of this House, we have the mandate in the country to provide leadership in matters of politics. But we have abdicated that responsibility, and we are being led by the people we are supposed to be leading. What's our role as members of parliament? It took us aback. And we thought about that. And said, surely, in a conflict situation like we have in Kenya at that time, what are we supposed to do as members of parliament? He said, the time has come for both sides of the House to find people who are firm but are fair, to sit down together quickly and see how we can build bridges. Bridges that could bring peace and reduce the heat in the country. That was Nyenze, as he was then. I'm sure if Nyenze was alive today, he would be happy that finally this House is in the process of setting up committees. Because setting up committees would then give us a chance from both sides of the House to interact and deal with some of the hot issues that bring us to loggerheads. We never had that chance in the past. I'm sure wherever he is, he must be happy that finally we are moving an inch closer to where this House is supposed to provide leadership. As we mourn our departed brother, Mr. Speaker, I wish to say that the best memory we can have of Honorable Nyenze, as we eulogize him, Mr. Speaker, is to ensure that this House takes up its rightful role to provide leadership and reconcile the country. Thank you all very much for listening to me.
Well, honourable members, I think we will stop there. We'll stop there. We will have occasion in the coming days to express our condolences to the family and the people of Kitui West. We'll move to the next order.
Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers.
Majority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I beg to lay the following papers on the table of the House today, Wednesday, December 6, 2017, afternoon sitting. Mr. Speaker, I have an annual report on bank supervision by the Central Bank of Kenya for the year 2016. Paper number 2, the reports of the Auditor General on the financial settlements in respect of the following constituencies for the year ended 30th June 2016, and the certificates therein: A, Suba constituency, and B, Lamu East constituency. The Speaker, report number 3, the report of the Auditor General on the financial settlements of the National Exchequer account for the year ended 30th June 2016, and the certificate therein. Report number 4 is a report of the Cabinet Secretary for the National Treasury on all new loans contracted by the government from 1st July to 31st October 2017. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Next order.
Order number 6, notices of motion.
Member for Kimilili, Didimas Barasa. You are also shown as Captain Retired.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pass 1 to Standing Order number 33. I wish to seek leave of the House in order to discuss the matter of ongoing killings in Bungoma County, specifically in Kimilili constituency and Mount Elgon constituency, Mr. Speaker, where in a span of 3 months, we have more than 42 people who have lost their lives. Honorable Speaker, among the people killed are women and minors being defiled. Mr. Speaker, I want to remind the House that no Kenyan has the right to take away the right of another Kenyan person. Even a pregnant woman has no right of taking away the life of the baby she is carrying, Mr. Speaker. Honorable Speaker,
I think you have not been inducted about how to go about it. You're just giving notice of motion. Now you appear to have begun debating.
I'm properly guarding the Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 33, I wish to seek leave of the House in order to discuss the matter of ongoing killings of people in the Kimilili constituency and areas bordering Mount Elgon constituency in Bungoma County, where close to 42 people have been brutally murdered in a span of 3 months. Honorable Speaker, among the people killed were women who have been gang raped and minors defiled by gangsters before they were brutally murdered in cold blood. Honorable Speaker, the chilling murder of the innocent citizens has sparked fears of the reemergence of a killer outlawed gang in the name of Sabot Land Defense Force that terrorized the residents of Bungoma County in the years of 2006 and 2007. Honorable Speaker, appreciating that the efforts of the security and intelligence agencies to investigate and apprehend the perpetrators of the killings have borne no fruits, I wish your indulgence to seek leave of the House to discuss this matter of national concern and explore measures to be put in place to mitigate the situation before it goes out of hand. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Do you have the support? Very important. Apparently, you have the support. No, many members, more than the numbers required. Very well. I will allow that the House will adjourn to discuss, to debate that motion by the Honorable Barasa from the hour of 6 p.m. or such earlier time as the House will have concluded considering the business appearing on the order paper shown as order number 11, whichever is earlier. So if you conclude the business appearing as order number 11 in the next 1 hour, then debate on this motion will commence. And having seen the number of members in support, I will not limit, save of course, if it is 7 p.m., the House will of necessity adjourn. So Honorable Barasa, make sure that you keep the numbers floating around. Next order.
Order number 7, statements. Order number 8, the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017, question to be put.
Honourable members, debate on this bill was concluded, and we will adopt the same procedure as I indicated yesterday with regard to the other bill. But nevertheless, I have to put the question today. And having confirmed that the House has quorum, I proceed so to do. That the Copyright Amendment Bill, National Assembly Bill number 33 of 2017, be now read a second time. As many as that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as a contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it.
A bill for an act of parliament to amend the Copyright Act 2001. Order number 9, motion, alteration of the calendar of the House.
Oh, Honorable Barire, very well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move that pursuant to the provisions of Standing Order 28.4 and notwithstanding the provisions of Standing Order 27.1, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the first session of the Assembly 2017 as adopted on September 27th, 2017 by extending its regular sittings to Thursday, December 14th, 2017. Honorable Speaker, the House Business Committee yesterday resolved to extend its regular sittings. This will allow the House sufficient time to consider and approve the report of the Committee on Selection and Appointment of Members to the various committees. It is also anticipated that the members will vote for the Kenyan representatives to the East African Legislative Assembly on Thursday, 14th, 2017. Honorable Speaker, I move and ask the Honorable Washiali to second.
Very well, Honorable Washiali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. As my colleague has moved, Mr. Speaker, it's very important that we change the calendar of the of Parliament so that these committees are brought in the House in the morning of Thursday, if we will agree again, so that as members go, we can agree also that during the month of January, the members can meet so that they can identify those who are going to be in the leadership of those committees, that is chair and vice chair. And by the time we resume, the committees will be ready, and we are also expecting, with your permission, Mr. Speaker, that even after they have identified their leadership, they can still go ahead and start looking at some of the bills that are pending before the committees, so that as we resume, we have a complete House which is ready to move as expected. Otherwise, Mr. Speaker, I wish to second.
Of course, our members, I think, with a number of members who have been in the House before, are aware that committees of the House continue sitting even when the House is on recess, except for periods when the Speaker permits the staff who service those committees to also take their Christmas leaves, December and early January. But of course, the committees will be at liberty to begin their sittings, set their agendas, and make certain other housekeeping decisions before you can commence a serious interrogation of various businesses that may be referred to your respective committees. I therefore, honorable members, propose a question, which is that pursuant the provision standing under number 28, subsection 4, and notwithstanding the provision standing under number 27, subsection 1, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the first session of the Assembly 2017 as adopted on September 27, 2017, by extending its regular sittings to Thursday, December 14, 2017. Seems to be the desire of the House that I put the question that pursuant the provision standing on number 28, subsection 4, and notwithstanding the provision standing on number 27, subsection 1, this House resolves to alter its calendar for the first session of the Assembly 2017 as adopted on September 27, 2017, by extending its regular sittings to Thursday, December 14, 2017. Will as many as that opinion say aye? As many as the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion, approval of nominees to various constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund.
Who's moving? Honorable Washiali.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to move that pursuant to the provisions of Section 43(4) of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Act of 2015 and paragraph 5, 9, and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 4 constituency committees of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017. Mr. Speaker, one is Narok East constituency. And for those members who have, I don't have to read the names. For those members who have the order paper, the names are listed. Two is Katanga constituency. These are the additional names to those approved by the House on Wednesday, November 8th, 2017. Mvita constituency. The names are indicated on the order paper for Nyando constituency. And Mr. Speaker, the names are on the order paper. I wish to move and request Honorable Cecil Mbarire to second.
Honorable Mbarire. Very well, honourable members, I propose a question that pursuant to the provision of section 43, subsection 4 of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund Act 2015 and paragraph 9, subsections 9 and 10 of the National Government Constituency Development Fund Regulations of 2016, this House approves the list of nominees for appointment to the following 4 constituencies committee of the National Government Constituency Development Fund, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, December 5th, 2017. The constituencies are Narok East, Katanga, Mvita, and Nyando. That suggests these requests are to contribute? Very well. Member for Igembe Central is on the list.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to contribute to this motion, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I believe these are the last batches of the constituencies which are not brought their names, and I support that they also be included in the list. But, Mr. Speaker, we are yet to get the others gazetted. I don't know where is the delay, and I remember the leader majority put it that the gazettement would be done by Friday, but it is not as yet to be done. And Mr. Speaker, this delay is sometimes making most of us members of parliament worry of how we are going to handle our electorate, given that now the bill or the appropriation bill for the county government's money has already been appended to by the president. Money is going to be released to the counties, and as we talk, the MCAs have already started distributing bursary forms to their to the electorate so that they can fill. And we are getting questions, or we are being called by the electorate as MPs, and they're asking, when are we going to receive the MPs' bursaries? Mr. Speaker, I would request the powers that be to expedite this one very fast, because again, we are going to the January when the schools are being opened. We have a long holiday, and without this funds, Mr. Speaker, we will be put in an awkward position, and I believe my colleagues will support me that we urge this money to be released as fast as possible. I support.
The majority whip and the deputy are both in the House. I think they've heard, and it's a matter that I think you should pursue. The little majority and given an assurance to the entire House that the batch that was being discussed earlier were to have been gazetted last week. So I think there is a genuine concern. That matter must be addressed. Member for Kwanza.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to echo what you have just said. We are going for a long recess, and just as my colleague has just mentioned, I think we are very anxious because the leader of the majority assured this country, this House, that by Friday, and today is when it was Wednesday, he would have done the needful. The gazettement stuff have been done, and up to now, as you also rightly say, nothing's been done. And there's a questionable project that actually awaiting the disbursement of the CDF. Therefore, I also want to take this opportunity to ask that the leadership as promised, should work and be able to have this settlement done before we go home. I support.
Member for Odaya.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. First, I have to appreciate, Mr. Speaker, sir, through you, the kind of support I've received from members of this House for my quick recovery. I came in this House in a wheelchair, and Mr. Speaker, sir, now I talk on my 2 feet. Mr. Speaker, sir, on my side, I've been on a wheelchair for some time, so when we go on recess, our electorate expect that we're able to serve them. And without CDF funds, we cannot be able to serve them. We therefore would request that the gazettement and the release of funds be expedited, and this will help us to serve our members. Mr. Speaker, sir, you also know the Ministry of Education has been very efficient in releasing the results on time, and the kids are already aware of the schools they're joining, and therefore we need to disburse bursary funds soon possible. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I support. Thank you very much.
Member for Likoni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also want to just to concur with my colleagues to support this motion because it's a direct motion. In fact, it is long overdue. We are really waiting for the rest of the constituency to be brought in this parliament so that we have the gazettement. And I want also to concur with my colleagues that it is taking long. And actually right now, we are supposed to have been given the bursary forms to our students so that they can receive the bursary and go to Form 1. So this issue is very important, Mr. Speaker. Maybe we need to get guidance. When are we going to get the gazettement so that we can continue with the activities through the CDF funds? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Daigoroti South.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity, and I do stand to support. And I want to also add my voice to the voice of other members of this House who are here requesting for the expedition of the gazettement of these members of Constituency Development Fund boards, but most importantly also, the disbursement of funds to the CDF accounts, which is going to facilitate in the implementation of ongoing projects and also the beginning of new projects. As it stands now, it looks like one side of government is moving way faster than the other. As we know, the results for KCPE are already out, and we also know that the results for KCSE will also be coming out very soon, thanks to the efficiency in the Ministry of Education. That is a good story to the nation, but it also portends some pressure to the leaders in this House because very soon we shall be having our constituents knocking at our constituency office doors demanding for their bursary, which is actually their right. And as such, we find that the one arm of government is moving way faster than the other one. Mr. Speaker, sir, we all do seek the expedition of the gazettement of these members and the quick disbursement of these funds to our constituency development fund accounts. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Member for Nambale.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. As I rise to support these proposals for the gazettement, I really would like to urge that the Treasury strives in every way possible to release funds in their fullness so that the 2 quarters that have been passed, we can get the funds at one go, and we can begin to activate the development programs that we had all anticipated. All my colleagues who have spoken have commented on the urgency, particularly of the bursary schemes. I would also hope that as we do that, we shall get sufficient guidelines on how much is going to actually be paid by government
so we can assess what the residual requirements would be towards bursary. But I support. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Member for Borabu, Bomachoge Borabu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also like to take this opportunity to join the rest of the members in this House to say that the process to receive the names of the nominees for the NG CDF committee, I think has been long overdue. Having understood that this is the last batch of the list of names that we are receiving, I also would like to put my weight by saying it will be pleasant to have the list of names gazetted and the CDF funds released to ensure that they serve the purpose that they intended to serve in good time. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion.
Member for Kisumu East.
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, sir. I beg your pardon, sir. I did not expect to be there so quickly. Mr. Speaker, firstly, I'd like to console with the nation and the family of our late brother, Honorable Yenze. He was a great leader. He sat here and he's going to be sorely missed by us all. In respect of the CDF, I endorse what our colleagues have said, and I would really urge that due to the fact that our Form 1s have come in quickly, that we move along very fast and get this list gazetted and the action started as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Once again, my apologies, sir.
Ole Sankok.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. I also rise to support this motion, though nominated members of parliament don't have a kitty like CDF, and I hope the House in near future will also consider members of who are nominated, because, by the way, we have bigger constituency. Persons with disability, for instance, in this country are 6 million. Are also asking us. Some of them are going to school. They also need bursaries, the way honorable members are saying. Ours is left, we are left with an option of borrowing bursaries from KCB, Equity Wings to Fly, and well-wishers to our constituents. So as we release this fund, we also have to consider nominated members of parliament, probably be involved in the National Government Affirmative Action Fund, which is a fund for women rep. We also noticed last parliament that they also needed a kitty. Nominated members of parliament also need a kitty. I also like to condole with the family of Honorable Nyenze, and it was really sad as a nation, especially the honorable member when he came swearing in with a tank of oxygen, and we really felt sad at that particular time. So we mourn with the family and the people of Kitui West. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir. And I also wish to the member of Odaya, now that he's out of the disability club, you know, always we pray for you guys so that you don't join our club. Our club is the only club in the world that is full, because the benefits that we are given by the government is not enough for some of us. We really pray for you so that you don't join our club. We pray for you daily. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Honorable Baya, yeah. Kilifi North.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Notice that Mr. Speaker is left.
I want to contribute this and support this motion. But it's important to also note that CDF committees, if they delay, they also delay the roads committees, because the roads committee actually uses the gazetted members of the CDF for them to operationalize. And I want to take exception because my constituency, when we get to February, if this has not been done, it will be difficult to start doing the roads at that particular time. So I would like to urge the leadership of this House, remembering that the leader of majority, Honorable Duale, the first time when he tabled the long list said it will be done within the week. After that, when the second list was done, they said they would gazette on Friday. Now we are going on recess and this thing has not been done. So I would like to urge the leadership of the House and the concerned members, CDF board, to ensure that the gazettement is done on time so that as we open schools, we are able to pay school fees or bursary for the children that are joining Form 1 and the continuing students, and at the same time, ensure that the Kenya Rural Roads Board are also in place so that work can begin. I also want to join my colleagues to condole with the family of the late Nyenze, having lost a gentleman that served in this House and somebody who was a leader of the minority side in the last parliament. I think Kenya has lost a gallant soldier in the democratic space, and therefore we would like to condole with the family. With that, I beg to support. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Dawood.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to support this motion, but before I speak about it, I want to pass my condolences together with my family and my constituency, Nordimenti, to Honorable Nyenze's family and Kitui West, together with the Honorable Kete's family and the people of Belgut. He was the previous MP. Madam Speaker, when we are talking about CDF, it's very emotional because CDF, it's not just about bursaries. It's about making schools. It's about doing a lot of other things. And Madam Speaker, when we're talking about funds being put into the account, it's not just a matter of funds. We need those people to be gazetted so that when we go on a long break, we can see what projects are to be done by the CDF. Because until and when we do not do that, we will be behind schedule and the government, we will not get what we want to do with the funds. Madam Speaker, in Kenya, in fact, I'm proud as Nordimenti. We've got the second girl who topped in the KCPE exam, Sharon Kada from my constituency. She got 447 marks, and I believe she will not need bursary because I think the government will do everything for her. But there are many more like her who would need bursaries, who are going to boarding schools and the universities and colleges. Madam Speaker, we need even to think about our women representatives. They need to be given their money as well, the affirmative action. So we need to see how this House can assist not just the members of Parliament, the MPs for constituencies, but even our women representatives, so that they can be seen to be doing something while we are away for the next 2 months on holiday. Thank you, Madam Speaker, and I beg to support.
Member for Seme, Nyikal Wambura, Honorable.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. A lot has been said, and actual repetition is what we are seeing now. But I only want to say one thing about CDF.
Madam Speaker, thank you. I'm really concerned at what Maria is doing. Madam Speaker, if there's anything that is central to the core responsibility of MPs is CDF. It is a matter that MPs cannot compromise about. And here we are discussing a serious issue, and there's nobody in the government side that is responsible. Maria was here, but now she wants to go away. Who is going to communicate all these sentiments to the people who are concerned? Last week we got an undertaking, Madam Speaker. An undertaking. An undertaking is a serious issue. the leader of majority undertook to the House that he had talked to the Treasury, funds would be released. He also undertook that he had talked to the AG, names would be gazetted. Up to now, neither has happened. We need an explanation.
Okay.
Honorable Marina should not go away without telling us.
Honorable Olago, I'm sure Honorable Cecil Mbarire, having been a member of the constituency in the last parliament, knows how important this is. She's still here, and everything is going on record that is being debated by the members, and it will be taken very seriously. And I know the House leadership is in an equally critical sitting.
Yeah, let's wait.
And so their absence should not be taken for lack of seriousness. Honorable Mbarire, you want to interject on that?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I feel you. I feel Honorable Aloch, because Olago Aloch, because I've worn those shoes. And there's nothing as critical as CDF to any member of parliament. And also the affirmative FAD. It is the one thing that makes you achieve your pledges to the people. And I want to say that, yes, this matter has been seriously noted. And although you are not seeing us, we already have an arrangement. The Honorable Rachel Nyamai is sitting in for us to note every single thing. And remember, she also needs CDF in her constituency like yesterday. So that pressure is from all the members, and we take it very, very seriously, Madam Speaker. So even if you don't see us here, we have an important meeting for the Procedures Committee, but Honorable Rachel Nyamai is able to represent government very, very well. She knows, she's an old member. Thank you.
Maybe Honorable
And
Nyamai.
Honorable Sankok too is very good, Madam Speaker. Yeah.
Honorable Nyamai, maybe you need to, once Honorable Mbarire is out, you need to sit over here so that the leadership seats are not vacant. Go on, Honorable Nyikal.
I think the seriousness of the matter, Madam Speaker, has been stressed adequately. But the delay is not only for the 17-18 budget, it's also 16-17. So that delay is totally unacceptable. It is blocking even the roads work to go on. But there's also one element that has not been said, and since Honorable Nyamai is now sitting for the leadership on the government side, it is the issue of the oversight committee. It is in the structure, it is in the law, but it has not really been seriously operationalized. The guidelines do not indicate clearly when it should meet, what it should operate on. So I think this time we need the guidelines on the oversight committee of the CDF. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Nyamai, Kaki.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to also give a comment on the approval of the nominees for various constituency committee members. But Honorable Speaker, before I go there, I would like to take this opportunity also to console with the family of the Honorable Nyenze, who is one of us, as one of the leaders of Kitui County, and also a very, very good member of parliament for the people of Kitui West. So I would like to take this opportunity to console with his family, his constituency, and also with the people of Kitui County. We have learned so much from him, and all we can say is that God does not make mistakes. With regard to the motion, I would like to take this opportunity also to support that it is time that these few remaining constituency committee members are approved, so that we can go to our constituencies and start implementing the projects. Most of us who are able to come back to this house, partially, it is because of the work that we are able to implement in our constituencies. And as many members have said, our constituents are getting impatient. They are asking, especially when the county government starts being operational, and the national government, CDF, seems not to be operational. So I would like to just concur with the other members to say that it's time that we pass And also, something that has been mentioned by the Honorable, my friend, Dr. Nyikal. Yes, we have the oversight membership. This oversight membership has a problem because it is not very well structured. We are not given their proper roles, and also how that particular aspect is going to be funded. So it is also a challenge to those who will be in the CDF committee to ensure that we have proper roles and we have a proper funding structure for this. With regard to the role that I've taken, I am going to wait to sit here. I'll take notes, and I'll make sure that all the information reaches the leadership of this House. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Honorable Oundo Ojiambo Funyula.
Madam Speaker, thanks for the opportunity to contribute to this motion.
Honorable Ochanda, I'll give you your chance. Let's have Honorable Oundo.
Neighbor, he's my neighbor. Madam Speaker, I think I want to reiterate what my colleagues have stated so far. We were promised last week that the names will be gazetted on Friday. I happily told my constituents that from Friday we're going to move with full speed. They have branded me a liar, somebody who jumps and talks of issues before we know what is happening. I had a discussion with the CEO, acting CEO. He again mentioned that having issues at the AG's office, cleaning up and setting up the paperwork for gazettement. He indicated that it's outside his control. He hopes it will be done. But I think, as my colleagues have said, it's incumbent upon the leadership of the House to push to have these lists gazetted to allow us move forward. Knowing that the process of even submitting the proposal for the financial year 2017-2018 is a fairly lengthy process of public participation, generating the projects, preparing the report, plus the minutes are submitting, we are seriously running out of time. My people of Funyula, being severely impoverished people who have generally depended on external support to educate their children, we feel we are in a state of panic. Schools are opening on 2nd January. We do not know how our children will go to school. It is a matter of national importance. If indeed nothing happens by this Friday, I suppose by next week we need probably even have us a motion or to beg the leave of the House to debate the matter, because we cannot afford to go on, proceed without the bursary fund. In addition, quite a lot of roads in our constituencies have been severely damaged by the short rains. And as we have been told, the roads board cannot also operate. The roads fund cannot be expended without the gazetted members. We sincerely urge and request the government to move with speed to get us this money. We are of course apprehensive that once the county governments get their money and they start moving or start working, pressure is going to mount on the MPs and will be seen to be doing nothing, yet the MCAs and the county government are working hard enough. On that, I second the names. And finally, on behalf of the people of Funyula, I send my sincere condolences to the family of Honorable Nyenze. I'm a new member in the parliament, so I never served under his leadership, but following from outside, I could see the amount of work he did to have enabled the Code Coalition then to play its role in the government or in the parliament. I wish the family God's grace at this moment of hardship, and we pray for them. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Jackson Lekumontare, Samburu East.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish also to contribute to this issue about CDF. Madam Speaker, since we are elected, a good time has already gone. In the financial year, we are only remaining with 6 months. And if you are given the funds and you have not used, then it means you are not able to use the money, then it will go back to the treasury. And also the issue of bursaries. Due to that problem last time, there are even some students who have never gone to their studies because there are no bursaries. So it is very important this matter to be handled quickly so that as we go home for that recess, at least we have something to go and do. We have gone to several recesses, about 2, but you just go and sit together with your electorate without anything to do. There are also pending projects which are not, they have not been completed in the last financial year. So all those waiting us to complete, we need seriously the money. And not only the CDF, because of the high demand on bursary, even the women reps needs to have that small money so that they can also team up together with us, together with the county government, so that our children at least will get a good amount of bursary. And I support, Madam Speaker, that we need this money. Thank you.
Honorable Ogola Uchanda, Bondo.
Well, thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, having served as a member of the Select Committee of CDF in the last Parliament, there are 1 or 2 things that I thought I would want to remind the members about, because some of the things that happen are our undoing. If you look at them very critically, some of them are our undoing. The approvals that we are doing today is a process that started now a month plus ago, meaning that it is us who didn't do enough work at a moment of bringing in the names at the time that is required. So I want to remind ourselves that some of these are going to happen. There are constituencies, if you check through the CDF in terms of the transfer of funds, there are constituencies, sometimes could be some of the members that are with us at the moment, who have not managed to use the monies in the last 4 or 5 years. And these monies are still with the board. And you see, when now a committee changes, the other old committee cannot transact this business, but your money is lying with the board, I think it's our undoing. So I want to remind the House that, Madam Speaker, that in terms of when submissions or some requests are looked out for, please, let's try to run out quickly, so that these things are submitted early enough. Today we are talking about these constituencies, and remember, out of 290, there are around 116 that brought their lists within the time that was required. And every sitting that we are here, we are coming up with pieces of 2 or 3 constituencies that had not submitted. You see, we are trying to give somebody a scapegoat. Maybe at the AG they'll say, no, but we are still waiting for the other constituencies. We have not seen them. So they'll get a scapegoat. So in my view, I think that members need to be serious, to remind their committees, to remind their people in the constituencies that some of these things are done early enough. The other thing that has been brought around is the whole issue of the oversight. I want to remind ourselves, without shouting, that the oversight role and the oversight agency or personnel that are now inscribed in the legislation, in the CDF Act, are people that are supposed to be together with the Member of Parliament in oversighting the CDF at the constituency level. Many have been wondering, what is it that is all about? The oversight arrangement under CDF. You know, there have been this question, what's the role of a Member of Parliament in CDF? Many have been questioning this, but we are saying our role is oversight. So where are you in the oversight positioning at the level of the constituency? You are there. You are there within the 4 who are now the oversight committee of CDF at the constituency level. So I wanted to remind ourselves on this, but what is really clear is that that oversight is not given adequate resources for it to oversee or to oversight the fund at the constituency level. So, Madam Speaker, these are some of the 2 things that I want to remind ourselves, in a manner that next time or any other time that we are dealing with issues of CDF, when it is called on that, no, please bring this, let's do it in time. Like now, we are on a 2nd month, names have not been completed, And I think maybe today is when we're having the last, and we're already blaming the AG, or we are blaming another one. And I want to believe that the leader of the majority, if he went pursuing this, he will definitely be asked, why do you want these things to be gazetted when they are less than 290? And you have 290 constituencies. So, Madam Speaker, I want to remind the House of that. Thank you very much.
Member for Turkana South.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity. I stand to support this motion. Madam Speaker, just as my colleagues have said earlier, this CDF committee, Madam Speaker, is very important. And we request the leadership of the House and the government who are concerned to urgently gazette these names. As we prepare, I think, Madam Speaker, this is one of the reasons that made to the alteration of the calendar. Because they know very well, if we go actually on recess and the CDM funds are not in place, as the oversight, what are we going to oversight? And because, secondly, Madam Speaker, you know the stress of December. When we go there as members of parliament, although some people are trying to avoid some things, but the truth of the matter, Madam Speaker, you are a member of parliament. When you go there, Madam Speaker, the first person to be asked questions about CTF is a member of parliament. Whether you do oversight or you don't do, but you are answerable. Madam Speaker, during the audit, when there is any malpractice in CDF, those people of media will rush actually to write a specific member of parliament for that constituency without knowing that members of parliament are not there. So we are saying, because this is the funds that we actually oversight, we are telling the government we have to ensure that the first thing that is in place is actually CDF committee. Madam Speaker, this House resolves so many things. We are preparing, Madam Speaker, to employ people, CSS, PSS, this House will employ. Madam Speaker, but you see, our own welfare, our funds that we are oversighting are not actually in place, Madam Speaker. Do you think we will be in a conducive environment to do this, to do such things, Madam Speaker? If the welfare of the House, the members, is not actually in place, it is not in order, Madam Speaker, for us to fet some things in this House when our own issues are not fetted. So we are saying, Madam Speaker, we are calling those who are responsible to ensure that these CDF funds are actually in place. These CDF funds have been deposited in the account so that, Madam Speaker, when we go there, we make sure, Madam Speaker, that the constituents have received their right. Madam Speaker, it is not even enough to tell you the truth. What really happens, Madam Speaker, that when we go to our own constituencies, I have seen so many people seeing as if members of parliament, Madam Speaker, are beggars. Madam Speaker, we are leaders. And for us to come here as members of parliament, Madam Speaker, I want to tell Kenyans wherever they are, the most expensive job, the most expensive responsibility in this nation, Madam Speaker, is to become a member of parliament. If people could see the tribulations members of parliament undergo to be elected as a leader, Madam Speaker, it is very difficult. And the way we are perceived, many people perceive us who do not know the role of a member of parliament, Madam Speaker. They are very wrong. If I can tell you an example, Madam Speaker, even without this CDF, when this CDF, Madam Speaker, the funds are failed now. If you go to a home of a member of parliament, you did the work of Red Cross. You did the work of Benevolent Fund, making sure you bury people. You make the work of emergency relief, making sure those people in your constituency, Madam Speaker, who are angry, you provide to them. Madam Speaker, you do the work of a doctor. Those who are sick, Madam Speaker, you make sure you have taken them to the hospital. Madam Speaker, you do the work of ensuring those who do not have school fees. You provide school fees, Madam Speaker. That one has not been accounted. That is our role, because
as members of parliament, you need to have passion. You need to be patient. You need to be resilient. People should not understand that we did not come here to seek for wealth. We came here to serve people. We came here to sacrifice. And we came here to be resilient, Madam Speaker. So when we seek for these funds, when some people seeing members of parliament saying, please make sure these funds are there in the constituents, it's because they understand the burden that is bestowed upon them. They know the burden they have. They know the difficulty they face when they go there. So that's why we are saying, Madam Speaker, all the funds that are meant for the needy must be in place in the right time, so that these issues that we answer as members of parliament will actually be mitigated. They will be minimized, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we cannot actually underrate the role of CDF. To be so sincere, if we analyze now, if we scrutinize now, if you compare the development that has been done by county government and the development that has been done by the CDF, you will, Madam Speaker, appreciate that one done by the CDF. Because with the CDF, we respect even the scriptures that say, when you are given the little, make sure you maximize the little. Madam Speaker, I will tell you an example. With the CDF, you can construct a road of 2 million. The same road can be constructed by county government using 15 million. 15 million. The same road that is only 10 kilometers. Meaning that CDF funds are used in the right manner. CDF funds are used cost effectively compared to the funds that are being misused by county government. Madam Speaker, if you see the reasons why we see CDF is very important. CDF is a devolved function, they have a committee. But when you see the funds of the county government, Madam Speaker, they don't have a committee. It is decided there in the county headquarters, which we ask even the governors responsible. Even as the funds come to the county government, Madam Speaker, these funds must be devolved back to the wards. We want to hear specific county government, Madam Speaker, having what we call ward development committee. Just the way CDF sits with 11 members, 8 members to decide on these funds. We will want also to see the ward development committee deciding for specific funds for the county on the development, so that these committees will actually compete on the development, that the county government, the county funds will actually be decided by the ward development committee. The CDF funds will be decided by the constituency development committee. And we will see these funds, Madam Speaker, we will see the impact. But when we do not have that structures, I don't see, Madam Speaker, why people are very keen to criticize, to analyze the members of parliament. While when we go back to the county, people are not vigilant to analyze how these other funds are being used, Madam Speaker. So we are saying, Madam Speaker, I trust our leader of majority, Madam Speaker. I don't know why he has delayed today. We always trust him. He's a man who is very fast in action. So we are requesting him, if there is somewhere he has gotten the barrier, Madam Speaker, let him report back to the members. We will ensure, Madam Speaker, we will support the leadership to ensure that CDF funds are actually put in the right place. Finally, Madam Speaker, I will want to say this one without doubt. We are saying, Madam Speaker, if the welfare of the members of parliament, anything that concerns members of parliament, if it will not be in place in the right time, so many things will delay in this house, Madam Speaker. I support.
Honorable Mboko Hamisi?
Already contributed.
You already did contribute, Honorable Mishi?
Yeah, for the other.
Okay. Let's have Honorable Mwanyanje, member for Kilifi County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to support this motion. Madam Speaker, on the count MP Kilifi County, and I think this is been led for the approval of the nominees in the committee of CDF. Madam Speaker, that's now you look into the bloggers in Kilifi, they're asking what the women rep is planning for the girls' child education in Kilifi. So we urge the gazettement and more so approval of the affirmative fund, very little money, that will give us a hand to help our students going to Form 1 in January. Madam Speaker, as we sit, I urge fellow members, MPs, to give priority to the girl child. As much as we love all children, our girl child has been left behind in education. I urge the MPs, Kilifi County, to put this into consideration, to give first priority to the girl child. On behalf of the Kilifi leaders and people, may I take this opportunity to condole with the family.
Mheshimiwa Nyanse, so I want to pass my condolences on my own behalf and the behalf of Narok, members of Narok West. On the motion of end GCDF, Madam Speaker, sir, Madam Speaker, I think the majority of members have contributed, and it's really worrying, and really is becoming much of concern to all of us, that it is now almost about 3 weeks or so since the first bunch of the members were introduced and approved in this House, and they have not yet been gazetted yet. Madam Speaker, I'm privileged. We come from the same area. I'm actually your local MP. And you know, of course, the kind of challenges caused by the drought that actually communities are undergoing at the moment. It is not really going just to be enough to celebrate the exemplary performance of our students for the release KCPE, if of course we are not going to facilitate they are going to Form 1s due to lack of finances through the CDF. So I want really to contribute and call upon the leadership of this country, the leadership, to fast track and of course try to see that the names are gazetted and even the funds are being released on time. Madam Speaker, it's really very worrying that here we are as members of this House, August House, and doing much and very important business in this House, but on matters that concern us most, like of course this issue of CDF, they are not really given priorities. So we really besieged and asked the authorities to look into this and do the gazettement on time, actually on a matter of urgency, and even the disbursement of funds. So I support the motion. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Wanyonyi, do you have a point of intervention?
Yes, Madam Speaker, I think we have talked quite a bit on this particular motion. Each one of us is concerned. So therefore, can we ask the mover to reply?
Okay.
So we can move to another urgent. I think there are 2 other businesses before 6 o'clock, Madam Speaker.
Is before
On
I
order
check if that is the mood, is that the mood, members? Okay, I'll give the last member for Lurambi, Titus Hamala, and then we will go on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity in this honorable House. And I would like to join the honorable members in passing my condolences on behalf of my family and the people of Lurambi to the family of our departed brother, the Honorable Francis Nyenze, and his wonderful constituents of Kituyu West. I stand to support in the issue of the CDF, especially the gazettement, and also it is my sincere prayer that the leadership will take this seriously as from now and move as quickly as yesterday so that we can have our members gazetted. Madam Speaker, I would want to say that those who submitted the names. And remember, when we voted for the names in this house, we did that in tranches. So it should not delay us. The gazettement should take effect as soon as possible because we are on the ground. And Madam Speaker, one of the things that I would want to say is CDF and the MPs, there's been a lot of fight. The MPs have been fought left and right on the issue of CDF, and it's a high time that we should not bury our heads in the sand anymore on this issue, because out there, honorable members, when you are out there, when the people look at you, they see CDF. They don't understand these other issues about the manager, about the High Court, the Appellate Court, the civil rights movements and all that, the civil society, I mean. They don't understand. The people, our constituents, when you are out, you are campaigning, they know you are the person who will bring the project. They know you are the person who will have the CDF money. So we should be, as time goes by, we should affirm our position so that we are not sitting on the fence when it comes to the issue of CDF. If it is oversight, we should have oversight. We don't have to be in a position or in a situation whereby a fund manager will be telling you, your work is just oversight. Remember what the court said. And yet when you go to the mwananchi, when you go to the voter, when you go to the constituents, they are looking at you as the MP, they are looking at you as the CDF person. They are looking at you as the person who bears the CDF. Early in the morning, our people that voted for us, they don't go to any other person's home. They come to our homes. And when you look at us, Madam Speaker, this is my very first time to be elected. And I'm also a church bishop, I'm a preacher. So I've been looking at even the offering in the church and what my members have been giving to me. I find it, I was better off there than I am here because I have to spend all I have for the needs of the people. And we should not bury our heads in the sand like ostriches. We should really take our position because, Madam Speaker, who knows better our constituents than ourselves? Our fund manager cannot know where the bursary is needed more than myself. I know the homes, I know the people, I know where they live. And so, going forward, we should fight for our space, we should fight for our role and our position in the management of CDF so that this money goes to our people directly, so that we don't have money that is going to other places quietly and we don't know. Otherwise, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me an opportunity, and if anybody needs spiritual guidance, Honorable Sankok is there, or prayers. I don't charge for prayers, I pray freely. So thank you, and God bless this house.
Honorable Bishop, it's very interesting that the spiral effect of lack of CDF funds is going right into the tithe baskets and the offering baskets. But I hope this will be a thing of the past soon. I think we will have the mover. The mood was already clear that we have deliberated on this enough. And we shall have Honorable Rachel Nyamai.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I take this opportunity to thank all members who have contributed to this important motion on CDF. And this motion has also given people an opportunity to also ventilate on other matters related to CDF, which are outside the nominees that were being passed today. Indeed, CDF has contributed to change of lives within our constituencies, and I would like to encourage the honorable members, especially the ones that are new, as soon as the funds are availed, take this opportunity and implement the projects that you promised your constituents when you are being elected. We have also noted the concerns of members on disbursement of funds, on unclear policy, especially on oversight, and all the other matters that the honorable members have raised. I would like to undertake to communicate all these concerns to the leadership, to the able leadership of this House. And I am sure and hopeful that the authorities are going to implement as soonest possible. So, and also to you, Madam Speaker, I would like to thank you very much for being given an opportunity to sit on these high seats of this House. So I really thank you very much for the opportunity. Madam Speaker, I beg to reply.
Okay. We shall defer the putting of the final question on this one for obvious reasons. And we should therefore move to the next order.
Order number 11, the Building Surveyors Bill, National Assembly Bill number 35 of 2017, second reading.
Honorable members, an equally important debate or motion. And we are resuming debate on this one. I want to believe that the members whose names are lined up here are those interested in contributing to this motion or to this bill. We shall move on to have Honorable Muli Fabian of Kangundo.
Thank you, Honorable Madam Speaker. And before I go to the Bill of Surveyors, I'd like to take this opportunity on behalf of Kangundo people to send the word of condolences to the family and the people of Kitui of Honorable Nyenze. And Honorable Nyenze, I did not serve him with the other parliament with him because I was not here, but I had met him outside several times. What I know about him was a father and an ideologist. Thank you, Madam Honorable Speaker. On the issue of surveyors, Madam Speaker, in terms of segmentation of the land in this country is very important within the Kenyan jurisdiction. Madam Speaker, we have been having cases where some even surveyors document have not even registered. Madam Speaker, I like to support this bill because it's the high time all surveyors in this country to put under the charter of Institute of Surveyors for the benefit of this nation. Madam Speaker, anything dealing with land in the Kenyan society is very important. Any policy, any legislation made in this institution of parliament, it is very much fundamental to the society. So, Madam Speaker, I like to support this bill and say it is very important to legislate our surveyors, and it should go very soon. At least we have it implemented. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Mboko Hamisi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I also stand to support this bill on Building Surveyors 2017. Madam Speaker, this bill will provide some discipline in the field of building surveying because the activities and the conduct will be regulated through the rule and the procedure provided through this act, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, through this bill, we find that there will be an establishment of Building Surveyors Registration Board. And through this board, we'll be able to know the genuine surveyors and those people who are really registers, those people who have been able to pay the prescription fees, and those people who have been doing the building surveying work honestly. Because in our country, we have seen so many people who are using certificates for the dead people who used to be building surveyors. This thing has to be stopped. And without putting any kind of a law, we cannot achieve this, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in Part 5 of this bill, it provides for the financial provision.
The financial provision will ensure that there are going to be accountability of the funds of the boards, such as those monies appropriated by the National Assembly, some gifts, maybe grants, donation, or other endowment given to the board, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, we know through this building surveying activities, there have been so many corruption cases, there have been so many dispute cases which has been taken to the judiciary. Madam Speaker, when we have this Act of Parliament, I think we are going to curb all these practices in terms of corruption, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, part 6 of this bill, it talks about miscellaneous provision, which says the provision will ensure that only general registered building surveyor can practice or rather carry on the building surveying businesses. I'm saying this, Madam Speaker, because there are so many people, we call them maybe quack surveyors or maybe fake surveyors, who con the public, they take some fun, they con people and they do shoddy work. At the end, we get so many damages in terms of our infrastructure in this country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the bill has also stipulated the guarantee bond or policy insurance entered to or issued by an insurance. Furthermore, it has stated the stipulated amount for the businesses to be carried by an individual or two or more individual or corporate body. This kind of amount, because everybody will know the exact amount which is supposed to be paid for the same issues, Madam Speaker, and there are going to be no shortcut. We all know that in this field there are so many shortcuts, there are so many dirty deals, there are so many things which have been done to the public, and the public cannot do anything because there is no law which governs the activities of the building surveying, Madam Speaker. Lastly, Madam Speaker, I want to say that the bill will provide methods of keeping records, provide procedure for the registration and remuneration of building surveyor in respect of services rendered. If we have all this procedure, we have all this regulation, Madam Speaker, we are going to save a lot, even in terms of the funds which come from the government, which are required to be used in the activities of building survey, is going to be saved and is going to be utilized nicely without any kinds of corruption, Madam Speaker. I beg to stop here and support this bill, and even support the person who brought this bill to this Parliament. It's a nice bill, it's a good bill, and it's going to assist us in terms of accountability and transparency. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Let's have Honorable Warugoro Wanjiko. Is she here? The Honorable Member for Tharaka Nithi County, Honorable Nkatha.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to support this bill. This is a very important bill, Madam Speaker, because this is going to regulate the activities of the surveyors in the country. We have so many of them, which the ones we call briefcase surveyors, quacks, call them anything, they are there. So they just go around and telling people anything. As long as you have the money and you have something to be surveyed, they'll tell them they are qualified. This bill is supposed to provide the proper qualifications of the surveyors in this country. Madam Speaker, we are saying that we want to have the records of every surveyor in this country. We want to know, are they qualified? Where do they belong to? And who are they? Because we cannot be having everybody on the street telling us they are surveyors and they are qualified, since that they cannot produce anything. But they have fake papers. They have ID cards. They have their cards showing that he is a surveyor, whereas he is not. Madam Speaker, as I support this bill, I want to take the same opportunity to condole the people of Kitui West. I've known Honorable Nyense for many years when he was a young graduate from the university. He was posted to the Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, where I was working. He came and he had no office. I gave him an office. We worked together. He was a very humble man. He was friendly to everyone. He was not a noise maker. He was not a heckler like the other members in his coalition. He was very good to us. He was to every one of us. We are hoping that God will take care of them and the family, and we are going to give him a proper send-off. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Katha, we do not have hecklers in this house. We only have honorable members representing various constituencies. Let's move on to Honorable Ogola Uchanda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's a good reminder to Beatrice, my very good friend, that, of course, not all are noisemakers from this other side. Now, Madam Speaker, there are one or two things that I wanted to bring around as I support this bill. Number one is in terms of what we've seen, the trend and the urge by professionals to regulate themselves. What we've seen in the last, for example, the 11th Parliament, we had not less than 10 bills, 10 legislations geared towards professionals regulating themselves. Whether they were in the engineering sector, we had many of those, including technicians. Whether they were in health, we were seeing a lot of this coming up. So I really don't see why we want to leave or put aside the building sector. So I support the bill based on that, number one. Number two is that in the decade where we are, this decade, if you look at our economy, the sector that has shown constant growth and constant engagement is the building and construction. This is a sector that has been growing in this country. There's a lot that is happening in the building and construction. And we are seeing, even when we are talking about employment, the kind of jobs we are carrying, the kind of incomes that are coming around from this sector is huge. But as that happens, the issue of self-regulation is important. But beyond that, the bill, in as much as has brought this out very well, we really need to see that there's some good amount of regulation in terms of how the professionals in the sector work. As I've said, it's a sector that is growing, and as it grows also comes on with a lot of negatives. It also scores negatively in terms of the amount of losses that we see from time to time out of exercises that are not professionally looked at, out of exercises that are not professionally underwritten in terms of what is it that the professionals in those sectors are doing. We've seen a lot of construction work going down. The other day we just saw a bridge coming down in a bad way at a time when this county didn't need that really. We've seen a lot of buildings coming down, and when these things come down, the amount of loss that go with them is so huge to the economy. When we're talking about billions of money going to millions of money going to a bridge and it's going down, that is public. And then in the private sector, there are very many other buildings, many other construction that before they are concluded, they're finished, they are going down, they are coming down. We have seen a number, even after they are finished, after a short period of time, they are coming down. And we have also seen that in terms of the estimated period that buildings are supposed to take, you realize that that period in this country is either sometimes shorter because of the shoddy work that goes in terms of what goes on in this. So, Madam Speaker, I really support this, that the sector in terms of regulation is important. Now, one thing that I wanted to bring out that in my view is not very clearly taken care of by the bill is the amount of repression that is placed for purposes of those who handle this in a negative manner. There are things like the registration, your name getting delisted, and all these kind of things. But look at it in the amount of loss. You are presiding and you are in charge of a construction, you are in charge of some building that has costed a lot of money, and this building comes down. Do we want to just look at the amount of repression in the name of taking you to the registrar and having your name listed out? I think there is something that the bill is still lacking that needs to be looked at very, very comprehensively in terms of the amount of repression. What is it that needs to be done when you are a person, you are a consultant, you are the one who is in charge of a construction of that kind of a nature, and then the construction comes down? If leaving aside the issues of death, we're just looking at it in terms of the amount of loss, the amount of hours lost, the amount of money wasted, and all these things put together if you put aside the issue of the life. Life can take you for purpose of murder, yes, but the amount of repression, the amount of punishment that the bill is bringing out for purpose of this, I'm seeing is still not adequate. And in my view, Madam Speaker, like I've said, the sector is so huge The sector is growing much more faster than the others, and the sector also has a lot of these negatives running along with it. So we must prescribe good amount of repression in terms of those who mismanage the process. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable David Olesankok.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. If there is professions that we need to regulate as a house, they are surveyors. Because building surveyors have caused more pain in this country and a lot of conflict in this country because of their shoddy works. I hear that surveyors never dies. They hand over their certificates and IDs to relatives and friends. These relatives and friends may know nothing about surveying. And that is why we have our road reserve, our riparian areas being grabbed. They are being grabbed courtesy of quack surveyors. So if, Madam Speaker, we really need to regulate any other profession, as we do in the medical sector, we do even in human resource managers and all the other professions. I don't really know why we never thought of controlling these building surveyors. Building surveyors have caused a lot of conflict in our society, where the beacons are moved from point A to point B without necessarily taking care of professionalism and taking care of the existing maps. And it has brought conflict among communities, among brothers, and so on, and sometimes even death from this conflict. A larger number of our cases in the judiciary emanates from land disputes. And these land disputes come as a result of these rock surveyors. Madam Speaker, we need professionalism in surveying, especially in a country like Kenya, where we have taken up our farmlands and our grazing areas for buildings and for living. And when we when we take up this land for settlement and we don't control this settlement and these buildings, then our farmland will continue shrinking. And very soon, we may not be able to feed our masses. You know, if we have professionals in building surveyors, Madam Speaker, you will find that we will regulate the issue of settlement. I can take an example of Narok, where the population is increasing, and very soon you'll find people owning 2 acres of land. In those 2 acres of land, you construct your house, you construct a small boma for the sheep, a small boma for the cows, and then a pit latrine somewhere there. Then there will be no land to farm. If then the whole land mass in our country is taken up in those small portions, we will very soon suffer from lack of enough food to feed our masses. When we control the land use, you find that many people are normally settled in towns, where then 1-story building can be able to host so many families, and it takes a small portion of land, leaving large chunks of lands for farming, so that we can be able to produce food. And this can only be achieved when we regulate the issue of building surveyors. And these building surveyors, they should be professionals. And they can only be professionals when we have bills that control their conduct. Otherwise, we will suffer more as a country. So I really do support, and the mover of this bill really thought out very clearly, and it exhausts on the regulation of building surveyors. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Well, member for Muhoroni, Oyo Onyango.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker, first let me take this golden opportunity on behalf of myself, on behalf of the great people of Moroni constituency, to extend our deepest sympathies to the family, constituents, and the Wiper and the NASA fraternity for the loss of the meticulous representation from the meticulous representation of late Francis Nyanze. Francis Nyanze was a colleague in the 11th Parliament and was our minority leader, very humble, straightforward, straight-kicking, and stricter to the rules. And we will miss his guidance, we will miss his company. I've looked at the bill, Madam, and I want to support Madam Speaker by saying that this bill could not have come at a more opportune moment than now, because we are living in a world where the land is getting slimmer and the population is getting bigger. So we need a lot of regulations for the maximum use, for maximizing the use of the little land that is remaining, so that those who are able to buy land can get the opportunity of getting value for their money. As it is of now, the surveying department without proper regulations, we have so many people who are qualified surveyors, diligent surveyors at hand, in offices, and most of them died and have retired. And a lot of people went around, picked their licenses, picked their certificates, and now using them when they do not have what it takes to be a serious surveyor. Hence, the lots of conflicts that you have that are bringing even unnecessary conflict over land in everywhere. And if you move even the so-called physical planners, which are part of the surveying fraternity, you find the towns are unplanned because, when you check, you find that people have approvals. And there are approvals for people who purport to be surveyors, and yet their work does not add value to their certificates or purported qualifications. So this bill is coming at a time when I think we badly need this item. We need regulations, we need proper direction, and I hope that with the new bill, with the rise of the new bill, there will be an opportunity for Kenyans, no more so home hunters or people who want to involve in themselves in real estate, can now get true value for the money and make use of land, maximum land or minimum land, for the better of their aspirations. Otherwise, I want to support, and I say that it's coming in a good time and it should be supported. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Wambilianga Nanjala, member for Bungoma County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this opportunity to speak here. I also wish to add my voice on the previous speakers who have supported this bill. In that wake, I also rise to support this bill. This is just in the sense that as I support it, we are doing away with the quirks that everybody has talked about here. This country needs better planning and better rules. Using this August House, I believe this is the time that this bill is best suited and can go down into helping the country people, the people of this country. So I also support. And secondly, I also rise just on behalf of the people of Bungoma to convey my message of condolence to the family of the Honorable Nyenze. I didn't work with him, I didn't know him, but from what has been said here, I followed him partly when I was out as a NASA member and a CORD member that time. I believe this house has lost a member who was of great value to all of us. So I join the rest of the country on behalf of Bungoma people in condoling, and all I would say is that may his soul rest in peace as we continue praying for his family. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Nyikal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. When I had a brief intervention on the CDF bill, I didn't take the opportunity to pass the condolences from myself, my family, my constituency, to the departed member of Kitui West, Honorable Nyenze. As everybody has said, he was a man of great humility. He stuck to his views, but with such humility and no aggression at all, and with a lot of flexibility, very much unlike what you see amongst us politicians. He paid great attention to detail. I had opportunity to work with him when he was the leader of minority, and he always wanted all members to be well informed on what was being discussed. And whenever he made a presentation, many of you may remember, he always had it prepared, well written down, but he never read it. Somehow he mastered it, which means he worked a lot on it. Kenya, this house, and Kitui West will miss a great man in the demise of Honorable Nyenze. May Almighty God rest rise to support the bill on building surveyors. Madam Speaker, there is a great need for regulation, maintenance of standards in the built environment. There is a very fine distinction here when we are talking about building surveyors. There's a difference with other surveyors that are in the market. And these are building surveyors, and their area of operation is actually the built environment. There's a big problem in the country now about building standards, adherence to building standards, and even maintenance of buildings that are in place, and ensuring that the buildings comply with even environmental standards. We are all aware, Madam Speaker, of the many buildings that collapse after they have been, some during construction, some after they have been constructed and people are staying there. And that really falls in the domain of the building surveyors to pick the defects. They are not probably involved in the design and the construction, but actually they're the quality assurance people in the built environment sector. Madam Speaker, they are actually concerned with the certification and maintenance of buildings, the inspection of building, testing and classification of buildings as to what these buildings should be used for. They do give certificates on conditional surveys to give the conditions of the house. They prepare the lapidation schedules so that if a building is up, what needs to be done if it is lapidated? Should it be brought down? Should we actually be repaired? Should it be refurbished and renovated? They give that. They give occupation certificates, and they give inspection reports on buildings. So to a large extent, there really is a really important service to us, and particularly in this country when, as we are growing, buildings are coming up everywhere. They also prepare the guidelines in the maintenance of buildings. And in fact, they have produced the building maintenance manual that is currently being used in this country. But what is the problem? One problem is that many of the building surveyors are actually in government departments. And that is why you see, you rarely find government buildings collapsing during construction or after, and if they're to be renovated, you are properly done. These are the cadre of professionals that actually deal with this. Unfortunately, this service is not very widespread in the private sector. So you can understand why most of the disasters we have tend to be in the private sector. So there is need to extend this, and I think with this bill, I think these services will be extended to the private sector, the same regulation, the same control, the same inspections. By training, these people come from various backgrounds, but to a large extent, they are actually from land economics, and they also land survey and even quantity survey. So they are also very related in that context. Even the current regulation, you find that they link with the Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, with the Institute of Architects and Quantity Surveyors of Kenya, but there is need, Madam Speaker, for clear delineation so that these cadre of professionals can work under their own clear regulations so that they are not lumped together with others. To that extent, I support this bill. This bill does that by establishing about, if you look at part 2 in clause 3, establishes a board, it gives clearly who should be members of the board, how they're appointed, and that is extremely important. Madam Speaker, in part 3 and 4, they are dealing with the registration of the building surveyors, and they put down in the process, they put down the qualifications that are required for registration as a building surveyors. But I note in clause 21, Madam Speaker, that when they give the requirement, the qualifications, the required qualification for registration, they just refer to the membership of the existing institutions. I think that should be looked at so that it comes out very clearly what training background is needed before they are registered. The board also brings out the bill also establishes the office of the registrar under clause 12, and also state very clearly how the registrar is appointed, the qualifications. I think that is needed. It also establishes a register, which is then gazetted, so we can know who is a surveyor, a building surveyor, and who is not. It further also puts regulation or practice, because as I said, most of them are now in government departments, but I'm sure when this bill gets into place, a lot will go into practice on their own as building surveyors. And I think it is important that we put in place regulations for that practice when they get into it. Madam Speaker, it also puts in place the disciplinary processes, the situations under which some sanctions need to be put in place. But as my colleagues had said, I think in this industry, just the mere removal from the register, the mere withdrawal of a license is not enough. I think we should be more strict, because when buildings collapse, there's a lot more loss than just the economic loss. In fact, the biggest loss sometimes is the loss of lives. So I think we need to put much clearer sanctions. But Madam Speaker, I want to bring some caution as I end, that, as I said, this cadre of professionals is very closely linked with the other cadres in the built industry. The architects, the quantity surveyors, the land surveyors. So it is very important, and I've not seen it very clearly in the Act, that it does not lead just to fragmentation and competition in the business sense, because if that happens, then all the benefits that we expect to accrue from this bill when it becomes an act will be lost. So again, I think we look at it and look where there's amendments, and I'm not sure whether there's been public participation. This is a bill that needs a lot of public participation. With that, Madam Speaker, I do support this bill.
The Honorable John Bunyasi, Nambale.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. While I rise to support this bill, I'd like to make a few comments that in my own experience and what I have seen even while sitting on committees here in Parliament is important to comment on. One, first of all, this is an integrative profession. From a quick lesson that I've got from Dr. Mdenyo, who is a professional in this area. It's an integrative profession. It picks on trainings in other areas, as has been mentioned, quantity surveying, land valuation, and perhaps even structural engineering, and so on and so forth. So in a sense, beyond having regulatory framework for them, I hope that we'll go upstream and look at the curriculum development of these kinds of professionals, so they truly come out with something substantive, and that in a way they're in a position backed not just by law, but backed by substantive knowledge, so that what they say is agreed to and respected. Two, Madam Speaker, it would then also be important to oblige providers of buildings, particularly office or, of course, office and rental buildings, particular apartment blocks and so on, to have one of these qualified professionals managing their buildings on part-time or full-time as the case may be, but they must be obligated to deal with such a professional, then it makes sense. Because otherwise, if they only came in to inspect, for example, because of a regulatory framework that they have backing them, that would be inadequate. I think it's really important that we begin to professionalize these services so that tenants, poor tenants, or hapless tenants, I would say, hapless tenants, feel protected when they're staying in these kinds of structures. Madam Speaker, one of the major concerns I have had with these professionals, particularly those, they're under various regulatory bodies, Institute of Surveyors and others, that sometimes the degree of adherence to professionalism can be poor, can be very, very low. For example, we've run into professionals here while I was sitting on one of the parliamentary committees who simply did things from the office or went there and adjusted it depending on what the client wanted. And you would wonder what your own view. In one case, a leading university which has got a service end where they have hired professionals to work in the market, disowned their professional, saying, oh, in fact, that professional had not yet fully got the qualifications. But how did you then send such a person to go out and do a major job? And this was a job related to some of the activities of the third arm of government, this is the judiciary.
This is something I would also prescribe to the private sector. As one of our colleagues has said, most of the buildings which are done within the private sector, most of them are not supervised within time. That is why in this country, when you go to Biashara Street, you find very old buildings which have not been painted for a long time. I'm sure if you had building surveyors, they would be able to advise the landlords how to deal with those buildings, and that is why we should put this building into place so that in future we should be able to see a beautiful city, beautiful counties, and I'm sure going forward we should see many of them going even to practice in private sector. In conclusion, thank you very much, Madam Speaker, and I want to say that I support the bill. Thank you.
The Honorable Member for Wajir East, Rashid Amin.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity to add my voice on support of this bill. And before that, I want to pass a condolence message to the families and the people of Kitui for the demise of the late Nyenje. Nyenje came from the party Wiper, which I subscribe to. I'm a member of the Wiper fraternity, and I come from the northern Kenya. I'm the only member of Wiper from northern Kenya, and it's my feeling that I should make an obligation to pass my condolences to the people of Kitui, to the party as a whole. We lost a leader, we lost a key person in the leadership of Wiper. So it's my condolence to the people of Kitui and to the party as a whole. Finally, I wish to make certain contributions regarding the bill. This bill is very critical in terms of the current situation in the country and in the region, in terms of development and the real estates. Building surveyors is a very critical component of any building that is going to be erected. Real estate is growing up in the country, and it's a growing industry, and there's need to have a corrective measure, check and balance, and to see who will be able to oversee the building survey and the structures that are coming up and its erection. So the institution and critically making this board a very viable project for all the members is very critical, and it's very good for the people of the country and all people who are interested in construction. This will entail a board that will be able to oversee and register surveyors, particularly building surveyors, that will be able to see the growth of the industry and the construction of various items in the building industry. So their names and their roles will appear in the category of as registered members of the society of registered building associations, and it will be able to be a key in controlling check and balance in terms of their performance, in terms of their skills, so that they remain accountable to the landowners and to the building owners and the building users. For now, what is happening in the country, buildings are coming up, high-rises are coming up without a proper check. There's incidences of them encroaching into the riverines, the riparians, without control. There are incidences of buildings that are encroaching into public utilities. There are incidences of buildings that are encroaching into public roads. So, generally, the fact that there is a role of groups of individuals that controls the performance of these engineers who are entitled should be a day of the past. And the fact that we are going to establish a board whose membership are categorized and are inserted in their names and their qualification is key important to identify what are their qualifications, what is their experience, how long have they been able to serve the industry. These are critical concerns that should be indicated as we develop this board, who will be able to regulate the performance of the building surveyors. Without it, it will be difficult. It is quite possible for an engineer who has just qualified from the university without background qualification or experiences be put as a role. So generally, it's my feeling that in the future amendments, certain categorization in terms of experiences should be there. All counties, there are counties that do not have building surveyors. For now, the entire northern region you will be able to find. There are not even private entrepreneurs who are providing building surveyors. There are none. So it is difficult to ascertain who is to do what. There have been repeated cases of conflict in land and who is erecting what. So generally, it's my feeling all buildings that are rising or coming up either in the city or respective counties should be subjected to an authorization from the board. And for those who will be able to undertake that, should be able to do a clear indication of their membership from the board. So this board and its implementation and its formation is a critical component in the industry that is likely to grow over the years. And it's my feeling that we need to support this bill and to have a role of surveyors, an institution that is self-sustaining. These building surveyors, in the interest of self-sustenance, because most of the boards that have been coming up in the past are never self-sustaining. But for one thing, I'm sure, if there are specific guidelines that are put to this board, it can be able to generate its own income, it can be able to be self-regulating, and does not require much expenditure from the exchequer. So it's my feeling that this bill should be supported by every person that have an interest in this nation, and I can really be able to suggest that it's going to be a self-sustaining board. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you very much.
I can see, is the Honorable Oundo Jambo here? You already contributed to this bill yesterday, so kindly pull out your card because you're not eligible to contribute to it again. Honorable Ombaki Machogu.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
And Honorable Member, just a point of reminder for members, we have an upcoming motion, a motion of adjournment, which was allowed. It's being brought by Honorable Mutua Barasa on the issue of insecurity from, I believe, Western Kenya. And so it's just to remind members that we will be moving into that. So members who wish to contribute to that particular motion, you can begin to register your interest and as we transit into that motion.
Thank you very much, Madam, for giving me the opportunity to contribute to this very important bill. We all know that building surveyors play a very critical, a very important role in the building industry, the building environment, because these are the people, these are the professionals who provide the bill of quantities. These are the professionals who do costing of any upcoming building, or in case one requires to do any costing for an existing building, these are the people who are responsible for doing that. Indeed, Madam Speaker, I think this particular bill is long overdue because the industry has existed over the years without any act to regulate its conduct and activities. Again, we know that the building industry of recent years is bedeviled with quite a lot of problems, including people operating who don't have the necessary qualifications, people operating sometimes saying they are engineers when indeed they are not engineers, people operating saying they are architects when indeed they are not. Building economists or surveyors, they are known, work in close conjunction, in close liaison with the engineers and the architects in ensuring that there is stability in the building industry. It is therefore timely that this bill has come to us so that there will be a board, a registration board, to ensure that apart from ensuring that whatever they come up with in their regulations is complied with, they will also ensure that those who sometimes masquerade as having qualifications are disqualified and they don't go into unsuspecting people saying they are building surveyors when indeed they are not. The bill also provides that there will be a registrar who will serve as the chief executive, and I indeed support that, because apart from the people who will be serving in the board, who themselves a greater percentage will be those who are professionals on this particular line. The registrar, who will be the chief executive, of course, operating on a day-to-day basis, will be able to issue the certificates to those that have been endorsed and approved by the board to ensure that at least there is proper regulations being followed as far as this industry, Madam Speaker, is concerned. I'm sure that once we pass this and it is enforced, we will be able to have some sanity in the building industry, which as of now, we are having quite a number of challenges. Almost in each and every town in this country, you get a month at 3 passes without a building collapsing. And once we have this and they work closely together with the engineers and the architects, then these will be things of the past. And when you look at the financial implications, this is not something that will cost the exchequer much money because as far as it is concerned, it is not going to cost that much money. So I support totally that we endorse and approve the enactment of this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. We have Honorable Kioni. Do you want to contribute to this one or the next motion?
On this one, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Should I?
Yes, go ahead, Honorable
Thank
Kioni.
you, Madam Speaker. I want to, first of all, thank those who have been able to bring this bill to the floor. I remember as a young person, back in the, I think, some mid-1980s, we started agitating for the formation of, or for the enactment of this bill. And to find it on the floor, it's a pleasant surprise for me. I see my colleague there, and he knows how much we have struggled to get this aspect of our profession regulated in a known manner. Madam Speaker, this bill essentially or largely deals with the maintenance of buildings, the taking care of buildings that have already been constructed. And we know that the houses still continue wasting away when we do not have people who can take care of the buildings, and especially also and taking care of them in a known manner. This bill serves to make sure that those who have been trained in this field, and they are normally trained at the universities for a period of about 4 years, they leave with a degree in land economics, and then they specialize either as building surveyors or valuation surveyors or estate agents. The area that has been lacking is the one for the building surveyors, because it has never been provided for with a regulation and also a board. And this bill comes at the right time. It's never too late. But I want to thank the government and the leader of majority for making it possible for us to have this bill. I support it entirely. It is necessary that professions are well regulated. When we hear of buildings that are collapsing in various parts of this town, especially in Nairobi and now in other parts of the country, it is because the profession has been left for any person walking around. And when that happens, everybody would want to say that he knows what to do in a given situation, and we end up with the difficulties that we have had as a country. And it is for that reason that it's very important to have this bill, and I want to support it and ask that it be allowed to become law by all of us here and those who are not here. Madam Speaker, in terms of its cost, or the cost of this to the exchequer, we can borrow the leaf from the other professions. We have, for example, the valuation surveyor, and they really cost nothing to the government, because the people who get into the managing of the profession are individuals who are already employed within the public service. So other than sitting allowances, it costs no money to the government. It costs very little to the government, and for that reason, I do not think we should block it or object to it for the reason that we fear that it will cost the exchequer any amount of money. Madam Speaker, there is a lot that can be said, but suffice it to say that it is a bill that whose time came long time ago, and again we want to thank everybody who has made it possible for it to be on the floor, and I want to thank the members who have supported it. With those few remarks, Madam Speaker, I support.
All right. Do I have it that Honorable Wanyonyi, you already made your contribution to this one? Okay. Could we have Honorable Ondieki? Are you on the building surveyors?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance. Before I contribute, let me pass my sincere condolences to the family of Honorable Nyense and the people of Kitui West. I stand to support the bill simply because this will improve sanity in the construction industry. Construction industry is one of the areas which is affected very much because of unprofessionalism in the works which is being undertaken in this industry. Supporting this bill will improve the quality of our buildings and the quantities that our industry is undertaking. Secondly, you see, for example, in my area which I come from, Kisii region, buildings are collapsing simply because you find developers are ignoring professionals in this field. I really, myself, sympathize with them because you find one person wants to invest heavily in industry and he assumes. Therefore, this bill, as far as I'm concerned, it will really increase sanity and professionalism, and also will enhance technical aspects be followed. Lastly, I also want to promote, to encourage these technical courses our students who are in school. Let them take up these technical courses. For example, quantity survey is one of the good courses we're having. For this, for example, this board which will be constituted for it to have enough personnel to undertake its service as well. Lastly, let me take this opportunity also to say a lot of thank you for the people of Machoge Chache for giving me this chance to serve this house. Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this brief chance.
Honorable Waluke.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me a chance also. I think my card has been not working.
Yeah, and I think on that note, we are really getting a number of members who have the same issue. They are logging in and the names are not reflecting here.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Kindly take it up with the necessary office.
Yes.
To make sure your cards are working.
Yeah, I'll start on by joining the family of the late Honorable Nyenze to send my condolences, me and people of Serisia constituency. We are very sorry, and I knew Honorable Nyenze for a very long time. We have served with him here last term as a senior member of parliament of this house. And Nyenze was a very contributive member of parliament as the minority leader. We are going to miss him, and we are wishing the family, we are saying sorry to the family of Honorable Nyenze and the people of Kitui West. Madam Speaker, to start on this bill, I stand here to support the bill. It's a good bill. And in this House, we have passed so many bills and motions. And what we need, Madam Speaker, is the reaction, because we can pass the bill and later you can see that there is, it will just be there. And then another maybe Parliament will come and discuss on the same bill, which is not very good. Madam Speaker, I think sometimes we need to